All right, PatBev. All right, PatBev. You're on ESPN now. You're making it big. This is the most people have talked about Patrick Beverley in his career. Is him doing commentary on ESPN now that their Wolves are out of the playoffs. Um, Despite having the best player in the league in Patrick Beverley, if you ask Patrick Beverley. Uh, Listen, I appreciate people being honest when they're talking like on ESPN, things like that. Like it's a little too soft coded sometimes, right? But Patrick Beverley comes on and makes a point of dogging on CP3. And if you know me, I'm not even a CP3 fan. I love CP3's game. I don't like his antics, trying to draw fouls. Some of the things he does, don't love that. Obviously, he doesn't have a championship. He's known for that. He's living with that day in and day out, and he played like trash after game 1 and game 2 where he was the best player on the court in that series. He fell apart against Dallas and looked like trash down the stretch. Understand. So Pat Bev, I appreciate, because I do it too. Speak your truth. Speak whatever you feel. But this felt personal. This wasn't a truth. He has a beef going back to some LeBron James camp where he was like, ask LeBron. I dominated CP3 back in this camp before we were even in the NBA. As if anyone gives a fuck, Pat Beverley. No one cares about that. Pat Beverley, you are self-appointed best defensive player in the league. Neat. I'll get into that in a moment. But guess what you are on offense? You're trash. Okay? You're on your 14 for a reason. You celebrated as if you won the Kentucky Derby when you beat the Clippers in the playoff game because you're mad at the Clippers. You hold a grudge. You're known for holding grudges. You're mad at the Clippers for not keeping you. You moved to the Wolves. You beat the Clippers in a playoff game. You're drinking beer in the press conference, celebrating as if that's your championship. Congratulations, because that's the only championship you're going to get, Pat Bev. All right? Listen, of course, we should talk about how bad CP3 was down the stretch. He was bad. But you made it personal, Pat Bev. You have a personal vindication against him, and then you brought in Paul George for no reason at all. You're like, well, Paul George wasn't scared. He's like, the Suns are ass. But then you talk about Paul George in this light that he isn't the same person that CP3 is. Paul George is an underachieving playoff performer that has never won shit, and you were on the same Clippers team that lost 3-1 to my Denver Nuggets in a series a couple years ago. So don't talk about Paul George if he's like in some shining light and Chris Paul should be trashed on. Trash on Chris Paul, and you're like talking like he wasn't. Everything I saw was Chris Paul and Booker getting trashed for how bad they were down in the stretch. But you made it sound like they weren't getting trashed at all. You called yourself the best defensive player in the league on air this week. In that 3-1 series loss, guess who went for 40 in game 7? Jamal Murray. I don't know if you were guarding him, but if you weren't, why wouldn't you be? And he went for 40 in a game 7 loss against you. All right? Are you the best defensive player? Of course you're not. You're just a dude. You're a dude that no one talks about. Like you don't have to be accountable for shit. You're like, let's make CP3 accountable. But you have it clear because you're just a role player. No one's going to find you accountable for a loss because no one, as Dame put it, Dame Lillard came out on Twitter and was like, why is he hating so bad? And then someone threw out like your stats, Bev, in the playoffs. And it's like, it's not that bad. And Dame's like, that's because no one guards him. No one guards you because you're trash on offense. And you work and try really hard on defense. You're just a guy, man. So hate on CP3 all you want, but you were out of line, out of control. I appreciate the controversy and building up the ratings, I'm sure, of ESPN. It's happening. It's working out. It's doing exactly what ESPN wants. But man, don't make it personal. Hate on people not because you hate on them personally, but because you actually need to hate on them. You love on Paul George, but you hate on CP3. It doesn't make sense to me. Chill the fuck out, man. Calm down. You're just a dude. As who was it that came out? Matt Barnes was like, know your role. You are a role player. You can hate on guys and comment on their play, but you took it too damn far. And I don't even like CP3. I don't like him. He was awful. Hate on him all you want, but you made it personal. Don't do that, and don't bring other guys into it. Everyone's hyped on Pat Bev as a commentator after the game, and I'm not here for it. Fix what you're talking about.